You're listening to WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, Singles Talk Radio channel, where we take a lighthearted and candid approach to discussions on the journey of relationship loss, divorce, parenting, being single, relationships building, dating, and yes, sex. Join our listeners and begin living your best life.
Welcome to Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living with your host, Rosalind Sadaka. Join Rosalind each week on a journey toward overcoming life's many challenges to achieve peace, empowerment, and positive transformation. It's time to relax, unwind, and transform your life with Rosalind Sadaka.
Hello, everyone. This is Rosalind Sadaka, and you're listening to Going Solo Network, WGSN-DB, and the show is Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living with Rosalind Sadaka. And as most of you know, I'm the founder of the Child-Centered Divorce Network, and we focus on issues that are related to families before, during, and long after divorce, as well as relationships, moving on and transitioning after divorce. And I always have guests who are recognized for their expertise in a variety of topics that are important to us, and today is no different. So I'm very excited to introduce you to Anthony Diaz. And Anthony is a collaborative family law attorney, as well as a Florida Supreme Court certified family mediator. And he's mediated hundreds of cases over the years, more than 20 years, I believe. Anthony is known as the peacemaker. I love that. And he's passionate about guiding families to an amicable outcome, understanding that while divorce is not easy, it does not have to be hard. So welcome, Anthony.
Rosalind, thank you. It's so good to be here with you, and thanks for having me.
My pleasure. Today we're going to talk about what we named There Must Be a Better Way. And we're talking about better ways of handling divorce, which, of course, no one wants to encounter, but it's a reality in many of our lives, and I know in my history as well. So I want to talk to you because you have so much to share as a collaborative law specialist, especially. So why don't we start by, let me ask you this. Why is the traditional approach to divorce not always the best way to resolve the dissolution of marriage?
Well, that's a great place to start. I wasn't aware of this, and I think probably many of your listeners aren't. Divorce and dissolution of marriage really doesn't belong in court. Courts settle disputes of a monetary value, and they find damages and award parties. That's how courts operate, and divorce and end of marriages are totally different. We're talking about children, and parenting plan, inequitable distribution, alimony, child support. These are all areas that don't fit in a traditional court approach, but for many years, that was really what the only choice people had. And they went to court and they had hearings, and ultimately it was an adversarial process, and they got before a judge, and a judge issued a decision that everybody had to live with and nobody was happy with. So divorce really needs to be in an arena where people can be heard and their preferences listened to, and have an outcome that really suits both spouses and parents. And going to court and being before a judge that's no place for those issues to be resolved.
I so agree with you. I've been, as a founder of the Child-Centered Divorce Network, I've been talking to clients for years and years saying the same thing. And my belief is that divorce shouldn't even be in the legal arena. It should be in the mental health arena, where people are talking about what's best for every individual in the family and then finding a resolution. So thank you for making that point so clearly. Obviously, there must be a better way, and I'm asking you, is there?
There is a better way, and actually there is more than one way. So there's a number of options that families have as an alternative to going to court. So I want to focus on three of them. So the first one is where people resolve their divorce without having to get attorneys. So they can either do it on their own and file the paperwork and get the final judgment from court, or they can have a mediator be involved and to help them to go over the different issues and at least have a neutral party to guide them through areas that they may not have thought of. So the benefits of that are you don't have to go to court. You are in an amicable situation, and it can be resolved fairly quickly, and the only fee you have really is paying for a mediator. So that's the first way. The other way that you can stay out of court is have two attorneys involved who have agreed with their clients to handle the case out of court. And the attorneys work with their clients and parties to look at the areas that need to be agreed upon and be able to help their clients craft an agreement that works for both of them. Again, staying out of court. The positive is, you stay out of court, which is good. It's a little bit more involved in fees because now you have two attorneys. But the difference between using a mediator is now you have an advocate and really more of a legal mentor to help advise you on different issues that you don't have with a mediator. So there are more fees, but you get some legal support. And again, this process can go fairly quickly. So the third option, which to me has a lot of different benefits to it, is using the collaborative process, which Rosalind, you and I are very familiar with. The best part of that process is both parties actually sign an agreement that we are not going to court, and that really adds a lot of teeth to the process. Each party, spouse, parent, has an attorney, and that attorney is collaboratively trained and has the mindset of, again, we're not going to court. This is not an adversarial process. So that's really important in using the collaborative process because you want to make sure everyone's on the same page that we're not going to court. You have a facilitator that's a neutral, and again, it's many times a mental health professional that makes sure everybody stays within the collaborative process. And you also have a neutral financial expert, and they are the person, again, that's neutral, looks over all the financial information and helps the parties go over options. So those are the three parts. Now, I will tell you in the collaborative process, you get more support probably than any of the other options. The cost is more. You have 4 professionals there. But, the benefits are priceless. It reminds me of the MasterCard commercial that goes through pricing on different areas, and then the last part is something money can't buy, and they say it's priceless. Well, the benefits you get in the collaborative process, there are a lot of priceless benefits. So to me, it's the most well-rounded option to those who want to avoid going to court.
Yeah, well, you described it all well and clearly so people can understand. And, of course, what I love about the collaborative process is you have a team. So you have people with expertise on many sides all working together on your behalf. There's an important question that I want to ask you in case people aren't aware, because you and I very often talk about avoiding going to court. Can you tell us why is it so important to avoid going to court? What are the consequences of going to court that we're trying to help people avoid?
Great question. To me, one of the most important aspects of going to court that is not beneficial to anybody is it's an adversarial process. It's win or lose. You know, if I win, you and you don't know who's going to win and who's going to lose when you go before a judge, but somebody will lose, and sometimes both parties and parents lose. To me, when it's a family and you have children involved, to me, going to court is probably the worst possible option. You're asking the court to make a decision involving families. That's very personal. A judge has to know what's best for the children, what's best for you. They don't know. They really have no idea. They have the law, and they have the facts of the case, and they have to apply the facts of the case with what the law is. And sometimes it's not a fit. A lot of times it's a round peg in a square hole. But at the end of the day, that peg has got to fit in there. And it doesn't always benefit the children. So, and what it does is it's more times than not, it drives a wedge between the parents, because now they're going to court and they're trying to go through this process, and it's pitting each parent against each other, and the children see that, and it's not a great model of conflict resolution when you're modeling for your children. When there's a dispute, you get angry and go to court. So there's some real long-term effects on a family that still has to co-parent even after going to court.
I totally agree with you. I think it's important for people to really understand that as well-meaning as judges are, they're strangers. And suddenly you're putting life decisions into the hands of someone who doesn't know your family, but is making decisions that's going to impact everyone in the family. And too often people go in thinking, well, I'm surely going to win. My case is a sure thing, and I'm going to get what I want. And they end up being very disappointed, sometimes both parties being equally disappointed and frustrated. And undoing those situations is an awful, difficult situation, as well as very expensive. So once you go into litigation in the courts, you're spending much more time, a lot more money, and you're not necessarily coming away with an outcome that's going to be satisfactory to you. And it especially can be damaging for the children. And often children are getting interviewed by strangers to find out things about the family, which is a very intimidating, emotionally difficult situation. And children also don't want to be saying negative things about either one of their parents and feeling guilty if they do have to say something. So that could create a lot of psychological damage for children. So overall, it's something that you really want to avoid and think about, because once you're divorced, if you have children, you're going to be co-parenting with this other party, and often litigation makes the situation even more difficult than when you started the divorce. So we're going to take a real fast – go ahead. We're going to take a break right after your comment.
Sure. And the one thing I've noticed about once you go to court is you keep going to court. The person who didn't fail is looking to undo that, and you go time and time again, and somebody wins, somebody loses, you go back and forth, and then you spend even more money, and then the children are dragged in even further. So I just wanted to add that it's a never-ending cycle once it starts in court.
That's such an important point you made. It is a never-ending cycle, and people don't often realize when they start it that they're going to get swept up in that costly, time-consuming cycle that can be very frustrating. And too often, children pay the price inadvertently. So thank you very much. We've been talking to Anthony Diaz, the collaborative family law attorney, and we're going to be right back. This is Rosalind Sedaka with the Going Solo Network, WGSN-DB, and you're listening to Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living.
Whether your business is searching for the latest in innovative IT technology or support in management consulting services and training, Nationwide IT can help. A designated 8A and certified service, disabled veteran-owned small business, NIS's mission is to become a trusted partner with you, delivering cost-effective and innovative technology solutions. NIS has a portfolio of contract vehicles to easily access our talents and skills. Visit our website at nw-its.com or call 703-750-0453 and let us tell you how we can assist you in meeting your business or operational goals.
Welcome back, everyone. This is Rosalind Sedaka with Divorce, Dating, and Empowered Living on WGSN-DB, the Going Solo Network. And we are talking to collaborative family law attorney Anthony Diaz about how to do divorce in the best possible way, especially if you're a parent. So, Anthony, when you take all the different variables of divorce that you've been talking about, is there one option that just has more advantages for you, and why would that be?
Sure. Now, like I mentioned, there are a number of options that are all good options, and they're all ways to avoid going to court, and you really can't go wrong with either of them. But if there's one option that I'm passionate about, that I've got much experience in, and so is you, Rosalind, is the collaborative process. I was trained back in 2009, and one of the aspects of it that really intrigued me is that the process gives an opportunity to both parties or parents or spouses to look at what goals they have. What does their long-term future look like? And that really struck me as really unique, because you don't have that in any other process. Certainly not going to court. The judge or even the attorneys are either don't have the time or really not skilled and don't have the skill set to have that conversation with their clients. But being in the collaborative process, every case starts off with knowing what each party's goals are, and to see where their goals intersect and where they stay apart. And it gives each party an opportunity to see this is what the other person needs, and it helps them to understand what goals are important, and that the understanding of those goals helps to develop an agreement. If the goals intersect on their children, which many times it does, that's a good sign that the parents are really want to be on the same page when it comes to their parenting. Many times their financial goals are very different. One spouse may want to have security, with the other spouse wants to make sure that whatever assets are going to be distributed, is fair, and they have enough to retire with or anything like that. So knowing what each other's financial goals are helps when we look at the assets and the debts, and making sure that each party's goals are addressed. And what I found in my cases is when you can address those goals and help the parties to come to a resolution that addresses those goals, those are the cases that end really well. People walk away not stressed, and a very happy, not that the marriage ended many times, but they were able to do it in a way to walk away with their needs met. So that's the part of collaborative divorce really that stands out from all the other options, because it's the only option that stresses and looks at each of the spouse's needs and be able to find a way to address them and to see if they could be satisfied.
That is such an important point. And because we know that there's a mental health component to the process, we know that there's someone there who has expertise in caring about the emotional and psychological well-being of everyone in the family. So that being addressed, focusing on the mutual goals and finding ways that both parents are compatible gives them a stronger foundation for the future to move ahead. Because I think what happens very often in the family law realm is that lawyers are very adept at handling the case and creating a divorce ultimately, but they're not focused on what's going to happen the day after the divorce, the month after, the year after. And, of course, when children are involved and you're both co-parenting or hopefully co-parenting and finding some way of making decisions about parenting, the outcome after a collaborative divorce is going to be much more win-win than in other realms. Don't you agree?
I do, and I just want to double down on what you were talking about the mental health facilitator. Collaborative divorce is not all the professionals and clients sitting at a table singing Kumbaya. It's a very tense. Many times there's a lot of conflict. This is not just for cases with no conflict. In fact, it's even more important for cases that have a conflict. And having a neutral that's facilitating the meetings and navigating through all the personalities really is the glue that holds the case together, and the spouse is having an opportunity to spend some time with the mental health neutral, especially in the beginning, to get a feel of what each of them are going through and what aspects need to be addressed. So again, that's not in any other option, and it's really important to help that process move along. And many times it's about to go off the rails. And if there wasn't a mental health professional there to kind of step in and help that to be navigated, there would be many cases that would not have been resolved, even in the collaborative process.
Yeah, I hear you loud and clear, and I think that's so important. Before we go any further, Anthony, I wanted to give you an opportunity to let people know how they can find you.
Great. Well, I appreciate that. You can find me on my website, which is www.collaborativelyspeaking.com. So it's really easy, collaborativelyspeaking.com. You can also email me at ajd.lawfirm@gmail.com. And that's another way to get in touch with me. And then at the end of the show, I have a gift that I want to share with everyone that wants to contact me after the show.
Wonderful. Well, we'll certainly do that. So let me ask you an important question because of our times. The COVID pandemic has affected everyone in a multitude of different ways, and divorce has been impacted dramatically. Co-parenting has been impacted dramatically. So do you still think the collaborative option is the best way to go at this time, and why would that be?
Absolutely. I mean, there is not one person in this country, actually in the world, that hasn't been impacted by COVID in one area or another. This is all encompassing, and especially in divorce. I mean, think about it. You have a a virus that's causing people to stay inside, a virus that has cost people their jobs, and you couple this with people that are having family law issues and want to divorce. Many times they can't because they're still in the same household, and it makes the situation even worse because they don't have the space to be able to remove themselves to kind of keep the emotion down. You have people that have lost their jobs and now can't move out and can't live separately to start the collaborative, to start the divorce process. So they're living at home, and that really adds to the intensity. The good news, not good news, but the other news about COVID is it's allowing people to do all sorts of things virtually, and there's platforms, Zoom and other things like that. So the collaborative process is also the beneficiary of that now you have a way to resolve the end of a marriage, especially where the intensity is a little higher because of the things I mentioned, and that's not being held up by the virus. In fact, it's helping people to look for that resource because the courts are closed and they are doing cases, but things are taking a lot longer to go through the courts. So people are looking at other options to get more support and want to get to the end of their marriage sooner. So we still have meetings. We're not in the same room as we did before, but we can all meet virtually together, and it really is the best way because you get all the support and you get all the same benefits, but you don't have to be in person. And if you're looking for a way to work through the COVID crisis, even through divorce, really the collaborative process for those who want an amicable outcome really is the only solution.
Absolutely. So if people search for a collaborative attorney where they're living, then that can open the door for their finding options in their local region?
Oh, absolutely, absolutely. And each area of, let's say, the state of Florida, for example, each area has their own group and an organization where there's a multitude of attorneys for those looking for the collaborative process, and you have a lot of different options that you can look and see what's a good match for you. But the great things about these groups is every attorney on there, every mental health, every financial neutral is collaboratively trained and committed to the process. So you have a wide array of professionals to choose from, which is always good when you're have a legal issue.
Absolutely. Well, this is wonderful information you've been providing. Tell us about the gift you have for our listeners.
Absolutely. Well, thank you. So I've developed a number of ebooks, and it's a guide for different areas of conflict, including divorce. So what I'd like to give to all of your listeners is an ebook that I've written called Divorce with Dignity, and it's a summary of steps that spouses and parents can take to navigate through the divorce process and to make it as amicable as possible and to leave the process with dignity and to move on with their life, not having a lot of the anger that a lot of divorces go through. So it's really important for me to get that message out there that you can have a divorce with dignity. And anyone that of your listeners that emails me, I will send them a complimentary copy.
Fabulous. And the email address again?
Sure. It's AJD, as in my initials, .lawfirm@gmail.com.
AJD.lawfirm@gmail.com. Well, Anthony Diaz, you've been a wonderful guest and have provided outstanding information. You've really clarified something that a lot of people have heard about but weren't aware of all the nuances and the options and choices for creating an amicable divorce. So thank you so much for your time and your wisdom.
Thank you for having me, Rosalind. It's been a pleasure.
And I want to thank everyone who's been listening. This is Rosalind Sadaka, founder of the Child-Centered Divorce Network. I have a free ebook on the homepage of my own website, childcentereddivorce.com, and that's post-parenting divorce success strategies for getting it right, because we want to make sure that every co-parent has the best options available to them to create the most amicable divorce for themselves and for their children. So thank you for listening. We'll see you again next time.
You're listening to WGSN-DB, Going Solo Network, Singles Talk Radio channel, where we take a lighthearted and candid approach to discussions on the journey of relationship loss, divorce, parenting, being single, relationships building, dating, and yes, sex. Join our listeners and begin living your best life.